Hey guys, I wanted to jump in here before this episode and talk to you real quick. I have tons and tons of content that I'm going through right now. So many rat lines of research that it's getting a bit overwhelming. And as you guys know, this isn't my job, so I have a whole lot of other things going on in my life as well at the same time. It's pretty difficult. I say all that to tell you that the Ghislaine Maxwell's deposition from her lawsuit against Virginia Giuffre for defamation was released a couple of days ago. These are the files that we have been supposedly waiting on, that Loretta Preska, Judge Preska, had released. Remember, we had talked about how before that happened, Judge Preska had ordered a bunch of these documents destroyed because she ruled that the lawyers representing Giuffre should never have had the paperwork that they had, so she didn't want it disclosed to anybody, and she literally ordered it destroyed. She did that before she released, quote, the documents. And I'm about halfway through. I think it's like 400 and some pages of deposition. I'm on page 200 and something. I basically, like, when I get home, I try to work as hard as I can to get an episode out before midnight, and then I spend from like midnight until 2 or midnight until 3 researching what I'm going to do the next day. And I have fallen asleep for the past 3 nights reading this deposition, and I am not finding anything as far as revelations are concerned, and I think that's why the news has been quiet on it thus far. But I would like to find something, revelations, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link, and I know I go on about it all the time, but all of the links to my source information will be in the comment below my pinned comment. And if you guys can, go ahead and go there. The first link that I'm going to have there will be a scribd link to the Maxwell defamation lawsuit. If you guys want to do any reading on it, I would love for you guys to do it. And then if you have any information that you want to send me, you can send it to me on the Discord. You can email it to me, whatever you would like to do. My email is willcoll1980@gmail.com. I would really like for us to be able to, even if we do it in the comment section, to try to get this hive mind going. You guys do as much research as I do, I can tell. A lot of you guys know what you're doing. And so there's no reason why, like Jason Goodman's channel is called Crowdsource the Truth. I think that that's a really good concept, a hive mind kind of concept where not only are you guys getting content from me, but you're also helping the entire truth movement move forward by doing research on your own. I don't know. If you don't want to, by all means, don't do it. But if you do want to, read through this Giuffre deposition, send me highlights, send me what you see. And anytime you guys have a tip or something like that or a question, feel free to reach out. All right, let's get into this episode. I've been talking long enough, and it's about to go for another hour. Sorry. For a long time now, I've been telling you that Fox News is the new CNN. The utter failure of the Russian narrative caused the collapse of MSNBC, with their disillusioned and dejected audience searching for a place to find home will inevitably settle on CNN. CNN has already seen a mass migration of any of its moderate viewing audience. When the MSNBC crowd gets there, it will push the rest of them out, and they'll filter into Fox News. Fox News, being positioned as the new CNN, will realize that their new goal should be to address as wide an audience as possible, and they'll begin to liberalize. This process started a few years ago. As that happens, you're going to see new alternative networks pop up. You see Newsmax, you see OAN, One American News. There will be others, and in some kind of weird cosmic insanity, all of these issues have come together over the Hunter Biden laptop scandal. When the dust from this scandal is cleared, we will have to address true election meddling. We will have to address political corruption and our political elites selling their positions off for money. We'll have to address the CP issue and why it seems that children seem to be so often involved in this. We're going to have to address the censorship. The Hunter Biden story and the tech oligarchs going after the New York Post was the catalyst that will inevitably end in massive changes to the digital landscape. One great example of how Fox News is just the next corporate news media outlet and not your friend is how Rudy Giuliani was handled a few days ago on Fox Business. I'm just going to let this interview speak for itself. But before we get started, let me tell you, if you think that Rudy Giuliani had pulled his pants down or done anything inappropriate in the WrapUp smear created by the Borat television show, well, this video is for you. First, I want you guys to see how Rudy Giuliani, when Rudy came out with this information, the Hunter Biden laptop information, that is when this WrapUp smear about the Borat movie came out. And I hadn't heard of anything about it until some friends of mine, I was sharing one of my videos and they were like, "Oh, you're sharing stuff about Rudy and he likes little kids." And I'm like, "What?" And I looked this up, and of course, the best thing to do in these situations, I always find, is to go to the fact-checking websites. Since, people who are plugged in, they tend to worship these fact-checking sites like they're some kind of deity. And so I went to Snopes. And Snopes told me immediately that it wasn't the case. And I was like, but this kind of seems like a setup. And you guys, I thought, were smarter than that. These are guys that I thought did their own research and actually looked into things before they ran around throwing accusations that somebody is messing with children. Evidently, I was wrong. It only took me about a 30-second cursory examination to find out what had really happened. But it also seems that at Fox News, they weren't able to do any research on this situation either, and it caused a very awkward interview. I will posit to you that if you've ever seen righteous indignation on a television screen, this is it. Regardless, let's just watch this. Oh, and I made one small highlight so that you could see just how obnoxious this interview is.
Something here that is fishy, that is causing Americans, it's giving them pause, and other stuff that might have been completely adulterated over the 18 months. And some could say that you were acting like Christopher Steele, that you were abstracting information, and because... You gotta be...
This woman just said that he was acting as Christopher Steele. So insulting. And the interview's not going to ever be able to recover from this insult. But she doesn't understand how insulting she's just been. She just said a lawman was in Ukraine acting in the same way as a criminal.
And because...
You got to be kidding me. I was acting like Christopher Steele?
That's what it sounds like. When you look at the people that...
You better apologize for that. I mean, I've been a United States Attorney, Associate Attorney General, Mayor of New York City, and a member of the bar for 50 years. I've never been accused of anything. And you're accusing me of being Christopher Steele?
I'm accusing you of
That's
acting in a capacity
you would do that based on
similar to Christopher Steele, and that you were going back and forth between
similar to
Ukraine
an obstructor of justice
and the United States.
What you are saying is an outrageous defamation of me, of my reputation. Every single thing is here.
Now, I've told you in previous videos that it didn't matter whether or not Rudy Giuliani was acting righteously, but what did matter was that he believed he was acting righteously and that he would always operate within those bounds of his own personal point of view about is he or is he not doing the right thing. And what you just saw right there, he was insulted by that comparison, and I think rightly so, right? Now, the second part of this interview was suspiciously cut off of all the videos that I was finding, but I did manage to track it down. This is hilarious.
Your interaction in the Borat movie?
Now, that's a stupid question, isn't it?
No, it's not
really
stupid at all. I have a
Just
15-year-old daughter. I watched that, and I was kind of grossed out by it. I'm giving you a chance to explain.
Why was I?
We're gonna watch that again.
Your interaction in the Borat movie?
Now, that's a stupid question, isn't it?
No, it's not
really
stupid at all. I have a 15-year-old daughter. I watched that, and I was kind of grossed out by it. I'm giving you a chance to explain.
Why was I called the police when I realized that it was a scam. I called the police, and
That's who Fox News has on your television screen.
That it was a scam. I called the police, and he ran away. Because the minute she said something compromising, I called the police. Whether you believe it or not, I was tucking my shirt in. He made it appear as if it was something different. The minute she said she wanted to give me a massage, I called my security guy, and we called the New York City Police Department, who came there, and Borat and his 50-man crew ran out of the place.
All right.
So that's what happened.
Finest
Would you like to
police
ask me any
department
other
in the world?
Any other question to attack me for merely coming on your show to show you what criminals they are from a hard drive that's been verified by about 50 people, including the New York Post?
No, I'll see you tomorrow.
Now, is there
I'll
anything
read it
else
for
you'd like to
myself.
insult me with?
I'll put my eyeballs on it. I can't wait. Thank you for your time,
Well,
Mr. Mayor.
maybe you should have done some research in
I
advance
did a lot of
and listened to
research.
the tape recording. You sure didn't listen to the conversation that came out today in which Hunter Biden says in his own voice that he is partners with the chief Chinese spy master, Patrick Ho. Now, go figure out how I made that up.
All right.
What's he talking about, do you ask? I will play Hunter Biden saying that he is partners with the Chinese spy chief. You guys, this is getting crazy. All right, here we go. You ready?
Another New York Times reporter calling about my representation of literally, Dr. Patrick Ho, the spy chief of China, who started the company that my partner, who was worth $323 billion, founded, and is now missing. The richest man in the world is missing, who was my partner.
So yeah, he's talking about that phone call.
See if you can come up with some creative theory how I made that up.
You
Or
can't
the
tell
Russians
me.
gave
You
it to
can't
me.
tell me you haven't loved this conversation. You've loved it.
I have not loved this conversation. I find this conversation totally insulting. You don't accuse someone of being a criminal without any evidence.
I didn't say you were
on
a criminal.
speculation.
I did not say you were a criminal.
You said I was like Christopher Steele. Christopher Steele is a criminal.
All right.
Christopher Steele made up a totally fraudulent report. I know that case because I represented the President of the United States and got him acquitted. And I know who Christopher Steele is.
Yikes.
Christopher Steele is a piece of junk. He's a horrible person who made up a totally false
All right.
report, and he was paid close to $1 million by Hillary Clinton to do it. And your media, for 4 years,
Yep.
generated false charges against the President of the United States
This girl says, yep.
based on Christopher Steele's fraudulent report. I am not Christopher Steele.
Very
And
good.
I
I'm glad we
deserve
settled
an
that.
apology for that.
I'm glad you came on the show.
And
Thanks for
I-
being here, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm not glad.
So Rudy is mad. So comparing him to Christopher Steele, of course, pissed him off, but more than anything, nobody likes being accused of being some kind of inappropriate pedophile on national TV, and he had to defend himself against that, especially since this whole Borat thing is a wrap-up smear. It is a wrap-up smear. Because he's been pushing to get this movie dropped before the election. This article in Collider has September 8, 2020. Borat 2 has already been shot and screened by Sacha Baron Cohen. In the article, it says Collider can exclusively report that it was screened for a select few industry types. Interesting. So then he gets his New York Times spot because he did the Rudy Giuliani wrap-up smear. And I guess when that happens, you get a picture underneath a multicolored upside-down pyramid with smoke in the room. I don't know. It's just deathly obvious that he had to ring the alarm bell and say that democracy is in peril this year. Of course, if you vote for Donald Trump, because this entire movie trashes Donald Trump supporters. But of course, with just a little bit of reading, the SJW comes right on out. Mr. Baron Cohen actually started studying anti-Semitism at Cambridge University when he wrote his thesis on the Black-Jewish alliance and identity politics in the civil rights movement. Once you find out he has a background in the mind-melting social sciences, things become a little bit more clear. But in the New York Times article, again, you see that he shopped this around to many streaming services who were scared of the political content. Interesting that it keeps coming up that he had shopped this around over and over again, and it didn't really get any footing until after the Rudy Giuliani wrap-up smear. And Amazon Prime picked it up. So, would it have been a surprise if it had been Netflix or Amazon? It really didn't surprise me either way. The thing that did surprise me was that when I started seeing posts like this heinous tweet right here, I was certainly concerned that I had been throwing my support behind a guy whose now moral integrity was in question. But like I said, I went to Snopes, and in Snopes they describe it like this. Giuliani then asks for her phone number and address. He lies back on the bed to tuck in his shirt after she helps remove his recording equipment, and he has his hand in his pants when Baron Cohen rushes in wearing an outlandish outfit. Okay. Baron Cohen, who was disguised as part of the crew, screams that the young woman is 15 years old. Up to that point, there is no indication she is underage. Okay. The character, who is Borat's daughter, is played by Maria Baklova, who is listed as 24 years old on the Internet Movie Database site IMDb. So we have a person who was never under the age of 18, who was never portrayed to Rudy Giuliani as being under 18, and who only was declared 15 years old when Sacha Baron Cohen jumped in and declared that afterwards. And they don't even point it out like that in Snopes. You still have to parse it all together. It isn't rated outright false. Matter of fact, there's no rating on it at all. What kind of world is it when this Mickey Mouse bullshit about Rudy Giuliani makes it to the point where I have tons of people close to me that think it's true, and yet the laptop with Hunter Biden engaged in sex acts with minors in real life is labeled fake news and not allowed to be spread throughout the interwebs? It's unbelievable when you think about it. I mean, just to recap, we had the Collider article that said the movie was wrapped and even being screened to, quote, insider executives the first week of September. And then again in the New York Times article, he says that he had shopped it to various streaming services too and was told no again. Then Rudy leaks the laptops. And surprise, surprise, now all of a sudden somebody has interest in streaming this movie. I guarantee you, somebody, I don't know, his name starts with a B and ends with an Azos, who had already seen the screening of the movie and who had already said no, changed his mind to yes when Rudy released this laptop. That is my very strong belief. But luckily, Alex Jones was on Joe Rogan the other day, and many of my friends who will not listen to me about what I'm saying about Rudy Giuliani, perhaps you guys will listen to Joe Rogan. And besides, they have a bomb-ass conversation anyways that I could listen to for hours. Okay, so this is Joe Rogan's new studio. It looks like an oven or, I don't know, the inside of a hot dog, a giant hot dog. Are they in the Wienermobile? Anyways, they're having a great conversation. And this entire podcast is worth listening to from beginning to end. And we're going to listen to parts of it, but only a little bit. Because I want to talk about the wrap-up smear on Rudy, and I want to talk about I don't even really want to talk about it. I just want you guys to hear how Joe Rogan interpreted the same exact situation. And then Alex Jones is going to talk about the laptop a little bit, and I think it's important information. Now, I have an entire new episode coming out on the laptop that I'll probably drop sometime tomorrow. We're going to let Alex ramble a little bit at the end of this video.
Let me just, before we go any further, I fucking love Sacha Baron Cohen.
He's a comic genius.
I think he's brilliant.
I don't think he's brilliant. I think he's an idiot.
Amazing. But his interpretation of what happened in the room with Rudy Giuliani, it's not accurate, in my opinion.
Well, listen, I mean, in Who is America?
Like, see, he's tapping her while she's touching him and removing his mic. He does this little tap on her waist, but it's not creepy. It's like an old man, like a little tap, tap, tap.
Right.
Like if you want to take it out of context, like I don't know if there's more to it than what we're seeing.
But let's go further. Right after this happens, Borat, Sacha Baron Cohen, runs in panties and a bra saying, have sex with me, she's 15, she's too old.
Yes.
So this is, and Giuliani's like, what the, I'd have a heart attack. Like, what is this?
Listen, my 12-year-old sense of humor loved it.
Yeah.
But the thing about it is they're making it seem like Giuliani was jerking off in front of her.
Yeah.
And that's not, like, he lies back and he's tucking his pants. Like, can we show the whole thing?
But let me drop a bombshell on you, Joe.
They can't.
A bombshell?
No. I've been a big fan of Sacha Baron Cohen until I learned he spoke at the ADL last year and called for my arrest for free speech. And he called for Jeff Zuckerberg's arrest, or Mark Zuckerberg's arrest. So he called for my arrest and for Mark Zuckerberg's arrest for free speech.
Hey, he wants to work in Hollywood.
Right.
You got to do what you got to do.
No, but let's go further.
Deals.
Well, no, I agree, but I mean,
Rogan is a Sacha Baron Cohen apologist, obviously.
said arrest people for their free speech, and he supports internet censorship. So how does he make his money being this avant-garde, cutting-edge, really, over the edge comic that does things that could technically be seen as illegal? I support his free speech, and then he says I don't deserve it.
Well,
it's really dangerous.
He's flawed, like many great artists.
Yeah,
I mean,
The speech that Sacha Baron Cohen gave to the ADL was nauseating, especially for a man who is on the big screen making fun of the tribe and all kinds of stuff that is just way out of bounds. But it's okay for him. Rules for thee and not for me.
Until they come for him, he's not going to understand the slippery slope of censorship. And, this is another thing
That's pretty much it on Rudy. It was a wrap-up smear. It's bullcrap. They are attempting to redirect your focus from the content of the emails to how the emails were acquired and all the other things. Don't pay attention to the circus around the information. Pay attention to what's in the emails. Pay attention to the information itself that's coming out. Listen to the obvious connections to the spy chief in China, to the giant banks, the blackmail. I have another episode coming out, and it'll tie a lot of this together, but pay attention to the actual content of the information. Don't pay attention to the circus. That's what they want you to do.
I get to, yeah.
people have criticized me for being friends with you and for talking to you, and they also criticized me for not supporting a lot of these people that got banned and deplatformed. My take on it has always been the best way to counter wrong speech is correct speech.
Right.
When someone says something that's wrong, or someone says a conspiracy theory that's not accurate, the best way to counter that is to do better speech, to have people say the accurate information and to let the truth rise to the top. When you start censoring people, the problem is it's a fucking slippery slope. And there's a reason why we've been so steadfast in supporting the First Amendment in this country. And people think it doesn't apply to tech because these tech institutes are private businesses and they should be able to do whatever they want with their private business. The problem is that slippery slope has gone from censoring you, from banning Alex Jones off Twitter a year and a half ago, to getting a White House secretary banned off Twitter because she posts something from the New York Post, which is crazy.
It's crazy.
That's a 200 and whatever year old
America's
newspaper.
oldest newspaper.
And what she said, the Post, what they printed and put out there is accurate.
What the Post put out is accurate. The mainstream media right now is flooded with so much disinformation around this. It is insane.
The emails are fake. They just say it's a smear. No, it's a real laptop. The videos have been released. It's confirmed. But just think about this.
Well, it is a smear in that they're putting it out there. They're timing it.
Sure, but they're not denying.
They're smearing them with the truth.
But they're not denying it's real.
No, it's real. It's real.
How did this laptop become this big story?
That's where it gets tricky.
Yeah.
Supposedly, he dropped it off at a laptop repair shop in Delaware.
What an idiot. I mean, who's doing that?
Well, a crackhead.
Right.
Good
point.
The guy's smoking crack.
I keep forgetting he smokes crack.
Yeah, well, he did at the time. Apparently, he's kicked it. So congratulations to him. But the guy had some problems. Now, this is self-admitted. And also...
And they have the receipts. And here's the thing. He calls him dozens of times. Because everybody knows when you bring a laptop or anything in, they say, if you don't pay for this, we're going to wipe it and sell it. And so 3 months goes by, 6 months goes by, nobody ever comes and gets it. The guy goes to look at it at the repair shop, the owner, and there's all these 25,000 files, what looks like underage girls, and all the rest of this crazy stuff, and him smoking crack or God knows what. He gives it to the FBI. Wray does nothing, the director, hides it from Trump. And so people, let's just say inside that had copies of that, they leak it to Rudy Giuliani, who then now has started to put it out. So instead of facing up to it, they just say anyone promoting this, whether it's the House or Senate committees that were linking to it, or the New York Post, or the president's press secretary.
So for our crew, we've been talking about how we didn't understand the chain of custody, and it seemed ambiguous at best. We didn't discount the information because of that, but we were a little bit suspicious. Now we're hearing a different chain of custody story from AJ. And it's funny because whenever AJ pops his head up, it's usually because somebody's put a little birdie in his ear and he's out there being used as an unwitting disinfo agent. But you can always get good information from him if you listen to his schizophrenic ramblings. And in this case, he is for certain that the information on these laptops is true. He has on his own verified Rudy Media, the Chinese dissident media company that I pointed you guys to and told you that they had predicted what was going to be on these hard drives. But they were talking about them in the context of hard drives and not laptops, and I was wondering, is it just a vernacular problem that it doesn't translate the same, which is evidently what it's turning out to be, because now the same people pushing this release of this information, Bannon, Rudy Giuliani, Alex Jones, they're all talking about this media company, this Chinese dissident media company, like it has the new information that's going to be out, that's going to be coming out, that'll be the best. Why? Because they've noticed that this guy, this Rudy Media or whatever, he predicted what would be on the hard drives back in September, like I had told you. So when I didn't want to present the Rudy Media Chinese dissident channel to you as verified information, but I am now hearing that it's verified information from other media sources, and we're going to go over that. But the point Alex Jones is making is a good point, and it's one that I've been hammering home. They don't want us paying attention to the content of the emails, of which they have not denied that they are real emails, or the content on the laptop otherwise. And there is some horrific content on that laptop.
And which again shows it's election meddling. It's gatekeeping to cover this up. But I'll tell you what else has come out now. His daughter, Biden's daughters, reportedly, and they've not denied it now, this broke 3 days ago, left her diary in a house that she had rented. And the diary talks about all the same stuff and everything.
What the fuck is wrong with this family? Gonna jump in? Hold on a second. Hold Jamie.
On. When I was looking into this, the thing I keep seeing people say is that he lived in California.
He lived in California at the time.
That is true?
That's what I keep reading.
But they fly back and forth to Delaware. I mean, these are jet setters. They fly to Ukraine.
Well, that also.
By the way, that's in the emails. That's in the emails. Finally, where it's like, yeah, I need $30 million. Part of it goes to the big guy. And they're like, okay, we want to meet with your dad. And there's photos of them meeting and playing golf. So let me tell you, this is real. The FBI has the files. They admit it's real. It's a big deal.
But it's a real problem to ban this stuff from Twitter. Putin rejects Donald Trump's criticism of Biden.
This is hilarious that they went over this, because I went over this with you guys as well. And again, Rogan's take on it is pretty close to what my take on it is.
Business. Well, because it's Russia's bribing Hunter Biden.
$3.5 million through Putin, through the Moscow mayor who he's friends with, to Hunter Biden again.
Well, if I was Putin, I would deny it too. Listen, Putin has got to love this. If I was Putin sitting back, watching these fucking people eat themselves alive and destroy the First Amendment, destroy democracy.
Yeah, it's great.
I'm sure they have a hand in it. I'm sure China has a hand in it. I'm sure Iran has a hand in it. This is what intelligence communities have been telling us for a long time now, is that it's not just one foreign company or foreign country that's trying to fuck with our democracy. It's multiple.
The idea that the Russians have a monopoly on this.
No.
I mean, if the Russians were an NFL football team, they'd be like in the lower third.
And by
the U.S. and China are the top teams.
Right.
And we should say the United States does it too.
Sure.
It's 100% confirmed.
The idea that Russians got...
The United States is responsible for most of the overthrows that happen in the world, and we have been for decades.
Trump in is asinine because...
Including the one that's going on here right now.
Notice they tried to impeach Trump just 9 months ago for stuff in Ukraine, because whatever they are worried about, they project.
And we talked about that. That's the direct inversion. Now, they go on and on and on for hours, and every ounce of their conversation is entertaining. I highly recommend that you guys get into it. But when I saw this, it made me want to go and check out what's AJ putting out on his channel right now. And lo and behold, bizarrely, he's running right parallel with the stuff that we've been looking up in my channel. And I'm going to start watching him again a little bit more, but it's actually quite uncanny the way that they've come across all the same things that we have here on this channel.
Look at these photographs that are disgusting and horrible. The Chinese have every single one of them. The Chinese have every single one of them, probably 10 times more. Because what the Chinese government has been doing, and a country was totally undefended against this, is setting Biden up, putting him in a position where he's totally compromised. They've now given him so much money, he's totally compromised. They now have pictures of his son doing things that I can't describe, some of which are illegal.
And that's going to be the narrative for the rest of this episode. There's about another 15 minutes of raw video, and I'm going to talk over it a little bit. But AJ's about to run you through this entire laptop situation, and his information is solid. He keeps talking about how he's gotten all these separate confirmations, and I know he doesn't care, but this little channel here is just another one.
The entire leadership, including Dianne Feinstein, are openly working with Communist China against the United States and have willingly put themselves in positions where they could be blackmailed and controlled. They already got our debt, they already own Hollywood, and they've compromised leaders who, to get access to the Chinese market, go and become compromised like a gang initiation or a satanic initiation. The FBI director, Wray, over 6 months ago received the laptop that Giuliani has. And he received the information that's confirmed that shows thousands of photos of what appear to be underage girls. And these are videos with Hunter Biden in them in China, clearly being compromised with what appear to be prepubescent girls, to the point the New York Post was supposed to release these on Friday and said they're child porn. We've been told we can't. Now,
that's new.
That Hunter has an underage obsession. No, this isn't like barely 18 or something, okay? This is Hunter having sex with what appears to be underage girls to be compromised before he and his father got billions of dollars from Communist China by the Communist Party China to make sure that they were under their control. So
this is just like Nexium. When the Nexium stuff came out, basically what turned out was that in order to get into these upper tiers, the inner circles of the secret society, that they had to create blackmail. And then they would each be in possession of each other's blackmail. And one of the things I found interesting was that the lady had made up a lot of her blackmail. She wrote a letter addressed to her husband saying that she had an affair on him and done all these horrible things, but that she hadn't actually had an affair on her husband, but the letter was in her writing and she had given it over so that they could use it as blackmail against her. So in this way, a lot of times people know that they're being blackmailed. They're doing that as a right, an initiation right to get into the inner circle. He's saying that the Chinese are doing that with Americans. And when we talk about Trump cutting out the middlemen with pharmaceuticals, what he's talking about are these people that can deal with the upper echelons of China as far as trade goes, and that the Chinese government is able to control who those people are very well, unlike in America. And so if you want to become one of these big middlemen who opens the door of the Orient to a manufacturer, then you have to be blackmailed. The Chinese government has to be in control of some blackmail. This is Alex Jones's assertion. And so what he thinks is that they have that type of material. And I tend to agree with him, specifically because of Lewd Media, this Chinese dissident media company that had this information when we had talked about it way earlier we talked about it first week of October, that they had predicted it in the middle of September. And now this week, Alex Jones is catching on to all of this.
Epstein operation to the next level. Epstein was doing it for British intelligence, corrupt elements of the Democratic Party, and Mossad.
So Epstein was doing it for Mossad. A lot of these people knew they were being blackmailed. So imagine that you want to get into this secret society. They tell you, well, we need some blackmail, so we're gonna have to film you do X. And you're going to know that you're being filmed. You're going to do this. And then it becomes a question of, in these blackmail photos, these people, do they know that they're being filmed? They're doing this willingly?
The Chinese operation, and so that's why this is so big. A well-known Chinese dissident in America who was inside the Communist Party China, who we're about to play clips of in a moment, who said on record back in September, 3+ weeks ago, that this laptop of Hunter was there and that this laptop was coming out and what was on it. And now we've confirmed what he's saying is on it. This is not just an adult man having sex with what looks like 10-year-old girls, from people we've talked to that have seen it. They look really young. He's beating and torturing them and beating the living hell out of them, and they're begging in the video. And the national media that did pick up some of this said, oh, it shows some footage of what may look like underage girls that he had on his computer. Not it's Hunter with the girls. That's confirmed. That's number one.
So what Alex is pointing out there is that in the media they said he had underage obsessions. They made it sound as if he might have had CP on his computer, but they didn't tell you that he was the participant. They didn't tell you a lot.
Number two, in the actual Chinese translation, and I called around to a bunch of folks I know to confirm my sources in D.C. and New York, and they watched the video, including Mike Adams' wife, who's from Taiwan and speaks fluent Chinese. And indeed, when translated, the man that's seen the video that predicted before it broke, 2.5 weeks before it broke, what was on it, that's been confirmed, it's not just that he's saying extreme pedo, he's saying extreme torture, extreme abuse that you wouldn't do to an animal is what Hunter is doing to these little girls.
So his assertion there is when he says the CCP did it, how could... So what he's saying is who set up this horrible situation where this man, this American man, is treating these Chinese children so horribly? And that's what he's talking about, having seen this horrible treatment of Chinese children, less than you would even treat an animal, is what he says. And he says, who did this? Who set this all up? The CCP did. The Chinese government did. Because Hunter Biden was a middleman.
And remember, the FBI deep state had this 6+ months, almost 7 months ago, and all of that's confirmed. So this dwarfs what's even on Anthony Weiner's laptop. It dwarfs what we see in the spirit cooking emails from 4 years ago. That's why this is so ultra massive. So, Chi-Com Dissident predicts Hunter Biden laptop leak in September 24th video, basically 3 weeks ago. And then he lays all of this out and specifically says what's on the hard drive. And then it turns out this guy's very credible for my DC and New York sources, and that what was done here was that Hunter knew he was being compromised. This was shot 5 years ago when he made these big deals in communist China for several $1 billion to sell out U.S. interests. You understand, they're bringing in the big tech censorship because they're blackmailed. Pelosi's blackmailed. Hillary's blackmailed. Bill is blackmailed. And these groups go around seeing how many people they can blackmail to see how many people they can get under the control of their network. And again, people go and want the payoffs and want the power, and they go, yeah, you got to do this initiation so we know you're cool. So the article, Chi-Com Dissident predicts Hunter Biden laptop leak in September video. His credentials check out. The site checks out. He predicted it. All of it's come out, confirmed. The New York Post won't publish the new stuff because it's underage children and sex acts appears to them. And I get it, but they should at least pixelate it and get it out because the FBI would. Fox News, source on Hunter Biden email chain verifies messages about Chinese investment firm. And no one's denying, the Bidens aren't denying all this is real. Exclusive, this is China Inc. Emails reveal Hunter Biden associates help communists align Chinese elites secure White House meetings. Bombshell, New York Post refuses to publish 25,000 Hunter pics after reports that include underage obsessions. Underage obsessions, it's him in the videos, in many of them, beating and torturing little girls. Let's go to a few clips from the Chinese dissident news channel, Lude Media.
就说白了，之前已经跟你签了一个东西，是吧？然后呢，这边意思就是说啊，你看你别以为我们没你的东西啊，必须得赢，这是第一，不管用什么手段都要赢这个大选，否则的话啊，第二就是赢了以后你还得听中共的。
So Rudy Media's assertion is that the CCP is actually speaking to the Democrat establishment through Hunter Biden.
真的是要不仅仅是要把14亿人啊，把联合国真的是要把美国彻底，美国的总统啊，未来的哪个总统，未来多少年以后的多少任总统都是他们的，都是他们说了算。
That's how they compromise these satanic ghouls and build an army of people that'll do whatever they're told, who they've got under their control. That's why Communist China's happy right now that this laptop's come out, because it reminds Pelosi, it reminds Biden Sr., it reminds Obama, it reminds the Clintons what they've got on them. Let's break up big tech. It's bigger than government. It's more powerful. It's surveilling more than the NSA. It's abusing us, and it's working with the Communist Chinese. It's a lot bigger than just crack pipes and hookers like the media first said the first few days. Now, of course, it was underage girls. Now, of course, it was torture. And they just hope we don't look at what the story really was. They suppressed it to spin that it was just hookers and crack pipes. That was only the tip of the iceberg, which had the Communist Chinese compromising him as well.
Where we are with the Hunter Biden laptop. I guess I'm going to put both these episodes into one since I just kind of kept going. So yeah, I guess I'm comfortable putting forward that information from Rudy Media because this would be my secondary confirmation. Natural News is covering it along with some other news agencies. He was definitely right on target in the middle of September with what was going to happen and how it was going to happen, which makes me think he has some kind of connection most likely to Bannon, because Bannon does have a lot of Chinese dissident connections throughout the country. He's probably most likely part of a multifaceted leak campaign that's going on right now as Bannon and Rudy Giuliani slow drip the information that they got off of this laptop. Like I said earlier in the episode, guys, we're not going to be able to make it out of this whole Hunter Biden laptop situation without addressing major societal questions that we have moving forward, particularly online censorship, because what happened with them censoring this story is one of the probably the most egregious episodes of election meddling I've ever seen in my life. Gatekeeping for the Biden administration when the entirety of the media pushed the Russia hoax for 3 years, particularly during the midterm elections, when they pushed the Ukraine impeachment, particularly when the FBI already had the Hunter Biden hard drive. The crazy thing about this is if Trump doesn't win the election, it all goes away. And I think it really would. I think that if Trump didn't win the election, that all of the people who right now see exactly what went on and what is going on, I think enough of them would just drop it and go back to life as normal. They've starved us of a normal life for so long and so completely that I think a lot of people would just be willing to ignore all of it if you'll just let us go back to normal. All the world's a stage and we're only seeing a small piece of it. Who knows what we'll know tomorrow. Alright guys, like, share, sub the channel. If you'd like to leave me a tip, all the ways to do so are in the pinned comment below. All of the sources for my content are below that. And I'm not going to have any Alex Jones sources there. Just go to band.video and watch his show. Alright guys, love y'all. Peace.